Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Women's Splain. The duo is back, and
back.
better than ever. Sola is back. We missed her, obviously, bringing the real charm and style. And we hope you enjoyed my perspective on the PE landscape and fundraising process the last few episodes. As always, please email us at womensplainpod1@gmail.com for any questions or thoughts as we maybe continue the solo episode arc on the side, but with the focus on us too.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Brooke. Today, we'll dive deeper into a topic that we both love, innovation in food and D2C brands and some of the trends that are shaping this industry within venture and PE. So we can talk a little bit about, I guess, the intersection of wellness, luxury, and food within early stage companies, go through some of our, favorite D2C startups within food, and, just look at the different trends that are shaping the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I know it's a combination of lots of things Soul loves. Obviously, luxury, food, startups, money. We all love it so much. But one of the wanted to kick off with a luxury and kind of health conscious food startups. One of them is, I feel like, and a kind of iconic name in the sweets category, Sprinkles Cupcakes.
Love.
Back in, I feel like, 2010, 2015, it was the thing to have. You're the coolest birthday girl around if you had a Sprinkles Cupcake, spread at your birthday. It, kind of has a background. It opened back in 2005, started by Candace Nelson. And it actually started in Beverly Hills. And people thought it was a terrible idea at first because they're like, Beverly Hills is the queen of skinny.
They don't eat carbs.
Yeah, they don't eat carbs. Come on. It's also this is 2005. Okay. It's like Paris Hilton, Nicole Richie in their height. Skinny, skinny, skinny. And they're like, it's never going to do well. But it actually ended up doing crazy, crazy well. There were lines out the door right when it opened, and it became the hottest thing around, a few years later. And it actually ended up being sold to a private equity firm in 2013 called Carp Riley. And post-exit, Candace is also doing great. She even started an upscale pizza chain called Basana and a venture fund.
Yeah.
But talking about kind of why it succeeded, why do you think Sprinkles succeeded kind of despite all these things?
Yeah, no. So I love Sprinkles. Exactly. I think what they did really well was it was very contrarian, as we talked about in Beverly Hills, where nothing of the sort has happened before. And it was also the first cupcakes specific bakery. Before this in 2005, apparently there was no cupcake brands that were kind of focusing on high quality ingredients and of course taste, aesthetics, things like that. So being the first niche type of company, I think that really helped. Candace Nelson, I think, is an incredible entrepreneur, of course, with a couple of different ventures. But I think she was a great leader. She's a big TV persona. I think she has a show on Netflix. And you mentioned the pizza brand and the venture fund. So I think she had a lot of the characteristics of being a good entrepreneur and just kind of focusing on the products and then think about innovation within that space. I know were the first cupcake brand, or I guess dessert brand, to have the to-go cupcake boxes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So also, if you see, even now, I was traveling a few weeks ago, which is why I wasn't here, but they, different airports have, the cupcake boxes, and you can just, buy Sprinkles Cupcakes. And that was, first of its kind that she did. So I think she did really well on that aspect, and just kind of focusing on not necessarily being a healthy brand, because of course at the end of the day it's still cupcakes, but then being really differentiated in different flavors that no one has ever seen before, really focusing on high quality ingredients. So I think they did really well there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Sprinkles started a general craze of just I would call it almost Instagrammable bakery, sweets, etc., which I think is so impressive. And Sprinkles succeeded back in 2005 before Instagram.
Yeah.
Because if it had started now, it would have absolutely gone viral immediately. Everyone would have been posting with their cupcake and looking really cute. All the influencers would have been down. And honestly, it would have been a way easier, just sort of complete trend.
Yeah.
Versus back then, I mean, social media was really just starting out.
Yeah.
In 2005, I mean, Facebook was barely a thing. There was certainly no Instagram. There was certainly no influencers.
Yeah.
And yet, despite that, I think Candace had such a vision of I think aesthetic desserts that were also, I feel like, really like kind of honestly high-end gifts in that space too. Because I feel like it was I mean, I remember personally, like during Big Little Week in college, when I got my little, like a Sprinkles Cupcakes box that said like Happy Big Little or something, and you could like customize the letters on like each cupcake, so you could say whatever you wanted and had like deltas on it or whatever. And I remember like, wow, this is such a good idea. And I don't think that ever happened before too. So lots of people did it for prom, like all of these other things. I feel like she caught on and it was so interesting. And despite the fact it sort of being contrarian, it ended up being such a good private equity business. And I love that.
Of course. And she has a really good background too. She started out as a banker.
We love that. We love a finance girly. We love a finance girly.
And then she left investment banking, went to a startup, as one does. And then she's like, you know what? Like, I love baking. Like, that's my passion in life. She went to culinary school and learned how to bake. And then she started this. So definitely follow your passions, everyone. It's not too late.
Absolutely. And I feel like honestly, yeah, exactly. And maybe like ignore people saying like if it's not going to succeed just because it's different or it's in Beverly Hills. I feel like instead she really actually went to the center of what Sprinkles was trying to be, which was like this high-end gift basically, right? Or this high-end trend and like accessory, like through baking, which is super interesting, and actually went to the center of where it could succeed, which I love.
And speaking of cupcakes and Big Little Week, I got my little Baked by Melissa.
Which we love. I love Baked by Melissa.
It's great. Very similar, but I think their mode is just being like bite-sized, small, and they're kind of also healthy-ish, right? Like because like portion control, etc.
And I think they have like vegan cupcakes too. That's like their thing. I feel like they have a lot of like vegan options, which is pretty interesting.
But the founder has an incredible story as well. Melissa, of course. Ben Ishai. She was unemployed. I think she got laid off she was working at like a marketing or some sort of like sales company in New York. Got laid off and then started baking and, you know, started this business with her brother. Just started doing it in her kitchen. And then was kind of just selling through friends and family. And then there was a bakery in New York City that, you know, loved her products. And they're like, you know, you can just use our kitchen. And so I remember like reading an article, like her dad helped her like move everything into that kitchen. They just started baking, ideating, and then just producing these cupcakes. And now, you know, this is also a multi-million-dollar business. I think what was really different between this and Sprinkles was that Sprinkles was a pre-Instagram era. I think Melissa really took advantage of social media, especially over COVID too, because Big Boy Melissa has been big for at least like the last, you know, 10 years. But I think she really became huge on TikTok. I don't know if you've seen this, but like the green goddess dressing. Like she coined that.
She's like a fitness influencer. She's like workouts, like tons of stuff like that. So
I think she really leveraged social media to just kind of break out of like the cupcake realm as well, and then focus on like more health and wellness. But I think she also had an incredible story and she's doing really, really well. Hopefully, I don't think it's sold yet to any firm, but I'm sure that, you know, that's next and something that we should keep an eye out for.
Yeah, totally. And I think they do honestly a really good job too with like the same idea with Sprinkles is like gifting, where they have like lots of gift boxes. They always have like Mother's Day and Father's Day like trends, and like definitely like special like birthday cupcakes, etc. And like lots of like delivery and like easy access there, which I feel like also really elevated them during the pandemic when like people were away from their families, which I feel like also kind of put them on a different level as well, because they honestly do it's almost like they compete with like florals in a certain way, where like they're so like holiday gifting, and I really like that kind of on top of like their general sort of just boxes, which is cool. Which we love.
And she's, you know, New York City based.
She is New York City based. And like such an incredible entrepreneur. I love her story too. And the same thing, just like followed her passion after kind of like a difficult time and ended up building something really awesome and different in the space. So we love that.
We love nice sweets.
I know, honestly. Exactly. I'm like, now I'm just getting hungry. Now I'm like, we have to have cupcakes in the office. What's going on? No, it's awesome though. And we love female founders. Exactly. And I feel like the food space too is another one that's like, honestly, like a lot of female entrepreneurs, which is great. Like another one, speaking of, is Deux. Duh.
Deux. Yeah. So this one I actually really like. They're huge now. They're in Erewhon, they're in Whole Foods and a lot of different retailers. But they first, so it's founded by this woman named Sabina Lada. She went on Shark Tank a couple of years ago. Cool. And all the Shark Tank people were like, you are the best entrepreneur I've ever seen. Like, so well spoken. This is an amazing product. And each of them turned it down because they're like, oh, I don't have a sweet tooth. Oh, I don't need dessert. Like, it's like too niche. And so she ended up not taking any money from Shark Tank, but then it went viral. She did really, really well. She also has a similar type of background. Like, she worked at McKinsey. She was a brand manager for Frito. So she had some kind of, food-ish background as well as business background. But Deux is really great in that now it's not just basically what it is, taking a step back, it's edible cookie dough. It has all these like different ingredients like dates, I don't know, I'm sure a lot of different
nuts, totally, like toppings,
healthy products. But they don't just do cookie dough now. They have like donuts, which are made of the same type of product. And they've really focused on kind of placement and like marketing. And so I read an article on Fortune between her and the interviewer, and she was kind of talking about like, oh, we, placed it next to whatever product so that our product stands out. And it's a lot of it just like product marketing, just because this space is also kind of getting saturated now, especially with like healthy products, healthy like sweets. And so now they have like Nutella-esque type of dip. They're really like diversifying, and I haven't really seen a company that is doing a lot of these type of snackable on the go type of items that is healthy at the end of the day, vegan, and everything. So I think I love this product. They are in Erewhon. They've raised a ton of funding. Awesome. I think there's a lot that she could do here too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the idea of like taking something that's obviously like traditionally unhealthy, and obviously that you also can't really eat technically healthily at all, and making this healthy snack. Like, very cool. I think there are like other like brands that have done well on that, like Halo Top's another one that have taken sort of like ice cream traditionally made it more of a healthy brand, which I love. I feel like it goes off of like these trends of really honestly like young people trying to be healthier, but also still want to like give into their indulgences, and we love that. And I know like also a lot of companies have kind of gone in this space, so kind of gone under scrutiny, claiming that they have healthy items, and they really don't. Yeah.
There's one in the news recently, which actually really saddens me because I've been OG. So Poppy.
Oh my God. Yeah, no. Yeah, you love them. I love them too.
I love them. I remember they actually sent a couple to Nomo, I guess when they first started, and I tried it. And I am not a soda person. I don't think the last time I had like a soft drink, I was probably like 7. Like, I don't know. But this is a prebiotic focused drink. Soda, low calories. I think it's like 20 calories. They have a lot of different flavors. Love them. They've been under scrutiny recently because they got sued because apparently it's not as healthy as it seems. Okay. So I think the claim was like, there's not that much probiotics in a can, and for you to see an actual health benefit, you have to like consume like 4 a day for like 3 weeks straight or something like that.
Oh wow. Okay.
So there's a lot of backlash now for the company, which is pretty sad. But that's like something that you kind of have to foresee, I think, being like a health company.
Totally.
So that's an example that's been on the news recently.
Absolutely. I mean, I think also part of that too is like, obviously you market yourself as like a healthier alternative to soda, which they clearly are a healthier alternative to traditional sodas, not necessarily like a supplement. Like, I think those are two different things. And so I almost feel like a lot of times like false marketing claims like that, unless there is like an ingredient that's actually unhealthy for you, or they're lying about what's in it, or there's something in it that's actually like detrimental to your health, or it isn't healthier than soda. It doesn't really feel like that's super true to its name. No. That's actually very frustrating. Because it like the way to market yourself is as like a healthy probiotic drink, which is what they are. But like no one is really, I mean, I don't think anyone's going to think that's equal to like taking a probiotic supplement, right? I mean, I don't know, maybe they do, but it seems that's rough, honestly. I've had some of them too. I think they're great. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I never drink soft drinks either.
Yeah.
But I actually think they tasted better than most sodas. So
I agree.
I don't know.
I mean, there's also like, there's always that fine line of kind of, how much do you include in your label versus not? Because as you said, like they have all the ingredients that they claim. It's just like, I guess, insufficient.
Yeah. So I don't know, but no, it's interesting. No, it's good to know. I mean, and we'll see kind of how that plays out with other brands as well. And I know there's also a lot of, which I think is really interesting too. And I know you just went to Noma, so I would love for you to talk about it and your experience. I'm so jealous. It's literally amazing. But also like, I mean, which is the best restaurant in the world? Lots of also like kind of elite food restaurants, brands that also have like R&D in terms of like innovation in food. And like, what does that mean? And I'll let you kind of talk about it. Yeah.
No, I honestly think that's like the future of, new food brands and products. Momofuku has really been leading that. Momofuku Co. There's a lot of restaurants around the world that's founded by David Chang, so they're really known for their chili crisps. So I think they like kind of branded that, and that was like their R&D branch, and then they sell that a lot. Yeah. There's also a lot of like kind of I guess backlash there in terms of like, oh, like you should probably keep it more exclusive. Like, what's the point of just like selling it to everyone, and like you don't own chili crisps, etc. But I think that's honestly like the future in terms of R&D, and I could foresee like Pepsi or like a big company to kind of acquire those smaller companies. And I'll talk a little bit on Noma because, as you mentioned, I did go there. It was amazing.
Yes.
Top bucket list. So Noma has an R&D branch called Noma Projects. It spun out during COVID when the restaurant was closed, and they wanted to kind of sell the products so that they could bring Noma to the people during COVID. So they first started out by a couple of different products. And you can buy it online. It's pretty accessible. They make small batches, so it's normally sold out. And they are really mindful with how many products they have, just because they don't want to like, drop like 20 products. They want to like stay true to themselves, and they're always innovating. And that was the first restaurant that I went to that really, truly, I think, cared about innovation in terms of like good food and flavors and like new flavors that, people have never experienced before. So I actually met the team when they came to New York a few weeks ago.
That's incredible.
Which was so cool. Got to try some of like their new like fermentation like flavors, products. Coincidentally had a reservation at Noma a month later. Emailed the Noma Project CEO that I met in New York, and she actually gave me a tour beforehand before my reservation, so that was incredible. Got to see the lab, and you can really tell like there's a lot of like scientists, like people that are into fermentation that work there because they care about flavors. It's not like best restaurant, all about the scene, etc. I think they really just care about good food and fresh ingredients and just like innovating all the time. And so I think like that's their differentiation, and I think they're definitely going to keep innovating and then selling more products. And I could foresee a lot of different, restaurants doing the same. I think in New York it's starting. Like Omsom is a product that actually just got acquired. I saw it on LinkedIn today.
Oh wow.
But it was started by a sister duo, and it was kind of like the other way around, I guess. So these entrepreneurs started this brand, and then they went into restaurants. So I know like Fish Cheeks like use their spices and sauces in their food, but definitely in integrating the restaurant scene and kind of leveraging their name and the history, I think will be the future of like actual D2C brands. And I'm really excited to see more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think of like Carbone, for example, like sells their sauces now like in grocery stores, which is super interesting. I think there are like other trends as well of like I've seen like frozen dumplings, McNamwa does that too, which is like, a local like pretty well-known dim sum place. They now sell that in certain grocery stores and bodegas. I've also seen. So that's really interesting, and also kind of like changing the accessibility factor, which I think is also like a different way to take it. And generally kind of this idea of like, I also like that there is like an investment trend in sort of these luxury higher end, I guess, either commercial products, snacks or something different within that, or baked goods. Even like going back to Kim K's fund and how they invested in Truff.
Yes.
I think there's also been a lot of private equity and venture capital fundraising in snacks, like generally. Even going back to like Power Bars, like and Cliff Bars, etc. back in the day, that's also been private equity owned. So I think that's also interesting to see how that's developed. And I would love to see, you know, as these restaurant groups that we've also discussed on previous like episodes, a lot of them hold a lot of the power and like creating these new restaurants, and then are also creating commercialized lines. I wonder where those go as well, and they might just become like general restaurant conglomerates that are then bought out and could all be PE backed, or honestly maybe they'll roll up into a large conglomerate. Maybe they'll get bought by Pepsi, or like a J&J or something. And I think it should be interesting to see.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a roll up soon.
Yeah.
In the next couple of years.
Totally.
There's so many players in this space, and it makes sense in terms of like being streamlined with all the operations, etc. No, I think it's a really exciting time to be in food. And I think a lot of, especially now in like the last couple of years, like pure D2C brands like have been kind of neglected, I think, because of, you know, the emphasis with consumer tech, AI. But people gotta eat. I don't know. It's like it's always gonna be around. With this, and also like the push to being more healthy and like importance of wellness and etc. So I think it'll be really interesting. There's so many D2C brands within these days, and I hope to see more, and it'll be great. I mean, I love venture-backed D2C snacks.
No, absolutely. And like we didn't even touch on, but beverages and alcohol too.
Yes.
So like, I mean, everything from like seltzers. I feel like there's also like a lot of just innovation within alcohol too. Like I know there's like Usual Wine, which is like the newer, like they're like basically higher alcohol content, like lower tannin, natural wine, whatever. That's like D2C delivery. You know, like subscription. Like, you know, other types of like non-beer, non-alcoholic alcohol, like everything in that space, I think is super interesting to see too. And just like greater brand variety. I feel like that also just shows too that like people have just greater access now to like a more variety of options, like whether or not it's like delivery or online ordering or like e-commerce, or even just greater variety in the local grocery store. I think there's more demand for unique offerings within that, which is great to see.
Yeah. And we can talk a little bit about like prepackaged foods and like food delivery too. I know we talked a little bit about Sakara in our personal lives. I think they're doing really well.
They're killing it, man. I mean, I also started, which is really interesting, on like their bridal package, is like how they got really like well known, which is such a good area to target. And like which is interesting. And then they also just pivoted just a general meal kit. And like I feel like meal kits are hard to do, and like they're hard to be successful. A lot of like the sort of meal cooking delivery services have not done so hot. Some of them have. Plated sold to a private equity firm. They did better on that end. And you know, it's a tougher business model, but I think like the more prepared meal kits seem to be doing well. Sakara did great. I think they're like focused on women.
The bridal packages you mentioned, and they just taste good. I feel like a lot of these like prepackaged foods don't taste good.
For sure.
And this one, there's a variety.
Yeah. And they also have other products that I think like are a lot higher margin. They sell a lot, like their metabolism powder. That's like, I feel like there are like a lot of people buy that.
Is that the one with like chlorophyll and like, or activated charcoal?
I think so. I think so. Yeah. And it's like, that's like their like, it's a really popular product a lot of people buy, and it's not necessarily the meal kit. So I think having more diversified options is like good too. It's obviously just expensive and like not necessarily like honestly like necessarily good for people's like lifestyle, like especially like for example like you're like people who are at work a lot, like they can't really do it. So that's pretty good too. And like now I feel like there's a lot of other ones, like Factor is doing that, and like a lot of more like healthy like prep. I think there are other ones too.
I think they're doing better than meal prep
the meal prep services. I think for that, people just realize it just takes a long time to make anyway. I literally did one during the pandemic, and I was like, this takes literally for fucking ever. Like, I might as well just buy my own groceries, like versus like be like predetermined. Like the other one that I guess I did for a little bit too is called Tovala. That's like the one where it comes and it's like you buy like literally they have like literally looks like a toaster oven, and then you get like a subscription thing, and they like me, and the food does taste good. But it's like So you just like literally put it in the oven, like press go pretty much, and
Got
like
it.
does it for you. It's
Yeah.
somewhere kind of in between, I guess, like a meal kit and a meal prep, where you do have to like do a little bit. So
you're like,
feel a
I'm
little bit
cooking.
invested, but you're not
you're
really
not.
cooking. Yeah, exactly. I don't know how they're doing. They're like pretty new.
Okay.
So I guess for them, what is, I guess, like there is like, you know, almost like a Keurig or like a lot of these other home appliances that have that same strategy, where it's like, if you have to buy like an appliance, you feel invested, and as a result you probably keep going, even though like the appliance itself isn't expensive like a Keurig or a printer, but like the refills are. So I wonder if that made them do better.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, they really have to be specific with their target demographic. Like, if you're targeting active 20s, 30s, like, they're not going to cook.
They're literally not going to cook. Yeah, exactly. So I feel like that it was like, yeah, I mean, it was like good. I mean, I think a lot of these things did well in the pandemic and then really died, honestly.
Yeah.
Because people were like literally stuck at home and they're like, I've never cooked in my life.
Right.
And then they're like, okay, might as well do this, like activity. And then like people like dropped.
I mean, that's what happened with like Blue Apron and Hello Fresh.
Totally.
Like, they just did not do well
they
after.
Really did not. Yeah. And they tried to get like all the celebrity endorsements.
Yeah. There's only so much that can do.
Like, also all the same. I think too, it was like they're all literally the same, honestly. And there was just like no differentiation there.
That's true.
Versus like Sakari is very differentiated.
Yeah.
Like in its offering. And so.
Yeah. And it's like made by a woman for women.
Yeah.
I guess they have like the fiance package. I don't know.
They
for
do.
Men.
LOL.
I think.
Okay, I gotta.
I don't know.
Like,
I actually
don't
have
know.
no
I guess
idea.
I gotta like. Yeah, I gotta look at it. Actually, I mean, like I have had Sakara in my life, but like not during my bridal eras. Like I don't know. But like I guess I gotta look at it. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, and they also do a good job with like partnerships. Like I feel like the influencers that like do it or like honestly probably use it. Like Lindsay Metzler is like a partner and stuff. Yeah.
And like she's all about like wellness and all that.
Wellness and stuff. She probably uses it, honestly.
Yeah. She used it for her wedding, I know.
She did.
I think.
That's so funny. She looked great at her wedding. So
yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, guys. We love talking about luxury food and trends. Please, as always, DM us Woman's Plain Pod, Instagram, TikTok, and email us womansplainpod1@gmail.com.
For any other suggestions or topics or questions. And we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening.